I want to talk about an efficient way to kill trees to improve the habitat and hunting, and specifically which trees to kill and which trees to leave. There are a couple easy techniques for guys like you and me to kill trees. One, if you're working in the winter time when it's pleasant outside, is just to girdle a tree. You're just barely cutting through the bark all the way around. That cut's got to overlap, don't leave a gap. And then we're putting a herbicide in there. Just cutting the bark, the trees still lie below that and it will sprout back up from the bottom. But if you girdle and squirt, that tree will die. Now, it may take several months. Trees are not like grass. They may weigh a ton or more. And you're just putting a milliliter or so of herbicide in there, it's gonna take a while. If you're working now, once the leaves are fully formed, all the way till they start changing colors, we prefer the hack and squirt system. It's much quicker. We're simply taking a hatchet and making a hack and squirting in with a squirt bottle about 1 milliliter of herbicide, you don't have to be exact on that, per hack. And we're gonna make 1 hack per each 3 inches diameter of tree. So 3-inch tree or under, 1 hack, 6-inch tree, 4-inch tree, 2 hacks, 9, 3 hacks. It's really simple. Hack and squirt is faster than girdle and squirt. Ticks, chiggers, mosquitoes, depending on where you are out right now. It's easier to identify trees because the leaves are on. Girdle and squirt, you got all winter after deer season. You can go through there, and once you get practice at this, you can identify all the common species just based on the bark. You do it a couple of times, you can just see those trees when you're going down the road 50 miles an hour. If you have more questions about that, well, a lot more detail, we've shared episodes on this. We'll put a link in the description to show exactly how to do this technique and the herbicide we use to effectively kill trees using the girdle and squirt and the hack and squirt method. People seem to get that right off the bat, but we get a lot of questions. Okay, I got that, Grant, but what trees should I kill? Do I just start killing everything, or what trees do I kill? And even more importantly, what trees do I leave? And that's really what I want to talk about today. I think the easiest and best way to teach you all which trees I would leave and which trees I want to terminate is simply bring you out here to the proving grounds on an area we haven't got to yet, and we'll just walk along and I'll point out and talk about trees and tree species, which trees I'm going to leave, which trees I'm going to terminate. Most of America we talked about has high graded forests. In the past, people have taken the best and left the rest. They were doing it for money, not for wildlife habitat improvement. No one did it wrong, they just had a different mission. Many, many landowners now own land just for hunting or to improve the habitat, and they have a different mission. So come on along and let's take a walk.
Growing Deer is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Also by Green Cover Food Plots, Winchester, PH Outdoors, Black Widow Bows, Moultrie Mobile, Steel, Fleet Outdoor Apparel, Morel Targets, Fourth Arrow, Soil Pro Outdoors, Scorpion Venom Archery, Case IH Tractors, Burris Optics, and Redneck Hunting Blinds.
You know you're in an area that needs some timber stand improvement from a wildlife habitat point of view when you look around and it's almost, 99% brown on the ground. There's nothing to eat. The only thing growing down here, there's some buckthorn. Deer barely eat that. And I really dislike this species. This is Carolina buckthorn. It's native, but it tends to take over places. Real shiny leaf. Got this pattern right here. Man, it can take over. So if you open up the canopy and leave a few of these, they make a gazillion seeds. Birds eat the seeds, poop them out, spread them all over, and you'll be swimming through this just like bush honeysuckle or something else. So this buckthorn species right here is a real issue. When I see those, I terminate them. I see a really nice post oak here, and I know it's a post oak because of the bark. You may be looking at this spot right here, say that looks kind of like a white oak. Well, it's in the white oak family. White oak is a little platier, a little more flaky bark. And we have so many post oaks here in the Ozarks, I recognize it, but the leaf, post oak leaf, looks like a cross. That just looks like a cross. And remember, anything in the white oak family does not have any little hairs or burrs right on the end of the lobes. I just saw a red oak leaf and I was looking down here. Everything in the red oak family will have these little hair-like or burrs right on the end of the lobes. All the red oak species, there's a lot of species of red oaks, not just red oak, that's really a family name. Everything in the white oak family will have smooth lobes. So this is just an easy way to get it right on the bat. White oak family, red oak family. Species are family, but species is more important. It's something I want to consider because I'm thinking, is it valuable for my mission? Post oaks make a really good acorn. They're pretty drought resistant. I'd prefer a great big white oak, a true white oak, but a post oak is what we have here, so I'm going to leave this tree. Red oaks have an acorn that lasts longer through the winter. It doesn't rot or spoil near as quickly. If I had an elm tree here, I would certainly, for my mission of wildlife habitat improvement, favor a white oak or red oak over an elm or a cedar or even a maple. So you're just making a triage, or you're making a decision what best fits my mission in this square. If the only tree I have there is a elm and I want a tree there, then I'm not going to terminate that. I doubt I'd ever want that elm. But anyway, I'm making a decision based on that exact location. It's not a recipe for the whole property all at once. You're going through with the tools in your hand, a chainsaw for girdle and squirt or a hatchet and some herbicide, and you're making a decision tree by tree by tree. This can seem pretty intimidating. You're going, Grant, man, you went to college, you had some plant identifying classes and stuff like that, which is true, although, I skipped school and went hunting a lot of time. If you have a phone, of course you do, you can be pretty good at identifying plants anywhere. There are all kind of free or low-cost apps. Plant Snap, iNature, Picture This. These are all apps where you can simply turn your phone on, turn the app on, take a picture of the leaf, and it will identify very accurately to the species, tell you if it's native to the area, all kinds of information. If you want to take it a bit further, if I come to a species I'm not familiar with, and I go, maybe I'm working, in South Florida somewhere. I've never seen that species before. I get it identified. I'm confident in the identification. Then I go to Grok or one of the AIs and just ask it really quickly, is this species good for white-tailed deer? Is it good for turkey? And you can find a bunch of information out literally in seconds. And you will seem like to your buddies, my gosh, has this guy been taking night courses? He's a PhD in plant science out there. So just a couple easy tools. And, once you learn post oak and you come to about the 5th post oak of the day, you don't have to look it up anymore. You're going to know that. You've repetitively learned that, and it's going to be ingrained in your memory. So post oak, black oak, all these different species, you can learn them really quickly. On this tree, as I said earlier, I want to leave it. It's big, it's pretty straight, it's going to be a productive tree. So I'm going to terminate all the trees around here that are competing with its crown. And remember, we had all this brown on the ground. I want at least 20 to 50% of the sun's energy reaching the ground so I can get native grasses and forbs growing. So I'm making that decision based on several things. I literally put my back to this tree and I look around and I say, well, dang, here's an elm right here. It's competing with this tree. There's a hickory right here. Hickory leaves are real easy. They're always compound. This whole thing is one leaf. These are called leaflets. Hickories have there's a lot of hickory species, but they all have kind of this general shape. I'm not worried about squirrels, folks. I got plenty of squirrels. Deer don't eat hickory nuts, and these are very competitive, aggressive trees. This is a small, malformed tree, so it's less than 3 inches. One hack, a squirt, that tree's gone. Now, I had this question yesterday. Someone called me. We'd written out a plan for them. They'd had a crew come in and do some work on their property. They said, man, it's been a week and nothing's died. Well, you're killing something. This little tree probably weighs a couple 100 pounds or so. It's not like spraying grass and it's dead a couple of days later. It's got to transfer from here all the way down to the root system. So be patient. It's going to take a while. Sometimes, if you're later in the summer, you'll go through the whole growing season and it will stay green. It just won't wake up the next spring. So when I look out through here, there's a whole bunch of, 3-4 inch trees. And they're crowded and twisted and some stump sprouts. If we come over here, this tree and this tree here was probably cut sometime in the past. God rarely makes trees grow multiple sprouts multiple stems from one stump. That was probably damaged and grew back. These were sprouts. Sprouts are different seedlings. Sprouts grow from existing root system. Seedlings grow from a seed. Sprouts grow very fast because they got the advantage of that mature root system. So this is never going to grow into a good tree. It's malformed. A lot of times these will get rot in the center, get much weight on there as it gets mature, fall over. So it's not going to do much good for me. We're taking this out. We talked about some unhealthy trees there. Those were sprouts from when that had been harvested way back when. I want to do just the opposite of what a lot of logging operations did with previous landowners who were only interested in making money from the timber. That was their objective, not wildlife habitat. They took the best, the highest value trees at the lumber yard and left the rest. I'm a wildlife manager, a habitat manager. I'm often leaving the very best and terminating the rest. I'm looking for big straight trees with a big crown that's gonna make mast, acorns, something like that. I'm looking for trees that are benefiting my mission of making the wildlife habitat better, and I'm terminating trees that don't fit that mission, and I need to terminate enough trees to get this brown converted to green grasses and forbs. Forbs dry the whole system. Forbs, again, are just broadleaf plants. They usually make flowers, ragweed, stuff like that. Now, when I thin this out, my job's not done. It'll just grow back in sprouts. I've got to be disciplined to follow up with prescribed fire and stay on a pretty good rotation, or it'll just become a sprout patch, and it'd be worse habitat than it is now. Here's a couple of cedar trees, and it's all brown underneath here. You know my feeling on cedar trees. This is where I'm coming through with my chainsaw. I'm not hacking squirting this, because if I cut the cedar tree, it doesn't sprout back. They don't sprout back like hardwood. So a little grove of cedars right here, I can get a lot of sun to the ground and get more light to the oaks we left right there. This is a red oak. I know it by the bark. Here's one closer here. Again, in the red oak family, got these little bristles or hairs on the end, but it's leaning really bad. As this tree matures and gets bigger and bigger, it's likely to fall. I would rather, even though this tree's bigger, I would terminate this tree and leave this younger, straighter tree right here, because it's got better form and probably have a longer, healthier life. So you're not always making a decision on size, you're looking at form and the overall health of the tree. There's no need of leaving a tree that's already got an insect or a bad form. It's not gonna be productive for a long time. You might as well take it out and leave a younger tree that's off to a better start in life. I don't wanna leave a monoculture. I don't wanna leave just post oaks, for example, because then I'm only getting one acorn drop, and they may not make one year because something that was seasonal for the post oak. So I'd rather have ideally about 50 or 60% in the white oak family, make acorns every year or can, and 40% or so red oaks. Those red oak acorns last all the way into turkey season. They have a preservative in them where they don't rot when it rains like the white oak species do. So you might see off from a distance, say, oh, there's a big tree, boy, Grant's gonna leave that. Well, it's got bad form, but again, we talked about this earlier, this is one leaf, this is a hickory. It's not ever gonna serve my mission. I'd rather take this down, terminate it standing, and allow that sun and moisture to go to something more beneficial. On an interior road here, and one thing I've learned the hard way, you can learn from me, is don't go right through here on the edge of the road and terminate a bunch of trees. You know, don't terminate this tree and these trees, because of the road, if you look up, they're all leaning towards the center looking for sunshine. This forest stand is too crowded, so they're all starving for sun. And I hack and squirt this tree, and it's already leaning this way, it's gonna follow the road. Wasn't a big deal, but you looked up through here, and you terminate a few hundred of these trees leaning towards the road, and you get a big ice storm or big windstorm or something, and you're not going down through this road without a lot of work with your steel chainsaw. Same is true for food plots. You don't want to terminate, I'm talking about terminate standing, hack and squirt, girdle and squirt, a bunch of trees on the edge of your food plot, because they're gonna be leaning out in that food plot, reaching for sunshine, and they're gonna fall into your food plot. If I was coming right here and I wanted to make a high-yield food plot, one of the things I wanna look for is where do I want to put a tree stand, or where do I want to put a blind? In the case of a tree stand, I see a great big post oak here. It's got a couple limbs up there about 20 feet high. I can kind of hide in there, something to break up my outline. I might make and undesirable trees all in here, a bunch of cedars. I'd probably use that as a tree stand tree. And over here's another tree. This is perfect. I would kill everything through here, cut it up, carry it out, pile it in the middle, burn it, whatever. I've got another big post oak right here that is straight enough. It leans a little bit, but straight enough I can get a stand in there. And I've got cover to hide me. It's not just a tree. You want a tree with cover, right? Our whole mission here is get deer within range, and then we're not alerting them. Whether we pass them or harvest them, we don't want to alert them. So 40 yards apart, I got two big trees, so I could hunt with different wind directions, make a hidey hole in the middle. This is a great setup right here. You can always come through and just mark some trees with the spray paint or a ribbon, leave that, and then, you got a Thanksgiving coming up with all your buddies coming over or something, get 5 people out here working, and they don't have to make decisions. I'm usually marking my leave trees, because right here is one tree I'm leaving, and right here is 4 hickory spouts right here. So I don't want to mark all the trees I'm going to kill. I'm usually taking out 10 plus trees to each one tree I leave. So it's easier to mark the leave trees and terminate everything else. So in summary, I'm looking at several things to pick trees I'm going to leave and terminate. I'm looking at species, form of the tree, health of the tree, species diversity. I don't want to just leave one species out there. And the great thing about using hack and squirt or girdle and squirt, you don't have to do it in one day. You can do it different times of the year, obviously. You could come through and just say, boy, I'm new to this. I'm just taking out hickory trees, and I want to see hickories and cedars in this stand. And how much light does that get down? Then I can come back in a year or two and take out more if I'm not happy with the results. This is a great tool for landowners that are doing the work on their own and want to really paint a beautiful picture with their habitat. They can use these tools to slowly and surely create wonderful habitat to the tree they want to put their tree stand in, versus a big forestry crew coming in that's here, want to get the job done, make a profit, and gone tomorrow. That's a great tool if you need it, but if you're customizing habitat, you might be better in some situations to do it yourself. Understanding how to improve habitat, and what we've talked about today is actually restoring native habitat. This is a result of years of mismanagement or management for a different mission. They were taking the best to make money off the land or clearing the land for crops or something and leaving the rest. What we want to do is leave the best from a wildlife point of view and terminate the rest. Kind of want to do that to our life, right? We want to keep the best parts and get rid of those bad habits or bad things we're doing. And the best guide to that, of course, is God's word. And I encourage you every day to be quiet, seek his will for your life. He only wants the best for you, and follow it daily. Thanks for watching Growing Deer.